Hey guys, finally, welcome to Executive Espresso. We had a little bit of a sound kerfuffle on my end, and so sometimes, the technology doesn't work as you'd wish, but we have a great 18 minutes ahead of us today. Natasha is here with us. She is the voice of modern romance. She has some insights that could even make a cynic believe in love, and she's not just writing stories, she is crafting experiences that I think we could all learn from. So she's the romance writer, I'm the relationship expert, and I had this idea that maybe we could help spice up your relationships even in the midst of a lot of business kerfuffles, innovator struggles, and just the regular day-to-day busyness of life if we got a real-life romance writer on here. So Natasha is an advocate for authentic conversations and connections, and you can go over to her platform, go over to her account, and she'll tell you how to get there. I think that she is publishing her, or did publish her second book. We'll hear more about that. And then at the end, we'll have a quick 15-second triple shot where just some rapid fire, wonderful, wonderful advice from her life, because she doesn't just write about relationships and romance. She is actually an avid practitioner. So, Natasha, great to see you here today. You look wonderful. Thank you for taking time out for Executive Espresso today. So, why romance writing? What got you into romance writing?
It was kind of an accident, actually. I didn't plan to write romance at all. I didn't even plan to write fiction. I was just doing things, and I actually had a friend of mine, a writer friend of mine, kind of dare me to write something kind of spicy as just like a prompt. And as I started writing, it just flowed so naturally and was so fun to write that it just became my first book.
Wow, how long did that take you for your first book?
The actual first draft only took probably about 7 months. It was just like the editing and formatting and everything after that that took a couple years.
Where do you get most of your material for all this spicy romantic stuff?
I don't know. My crazy brain.
Your crazy brain. So, what I like to talk to you about is it really dawned on me that as a guy that does relationship therapy every day, that a lot of romance, a lot of love itself is about creativity. And so, I'd like to talk about, how can couples, uh, not let the busyness of life and the hectic pace of life smother those romantic embers. And you married a country boy, I think. I think that you recommend country boys. So how do you and your country boy kind of keep things spicy and keep them from getting boring and keep your love alive?
Well, I think that one of the most important things that we always make time for is just getting away, even if it's just out to dinner, just the two of us away from the kids, just to have even just a conversation where you're not interrupted constantly and you can be like, hey, I actually like you and I'm having fun with you again because we're not worried about the kids.
Looks like we had a little bit of a connection
Time.
delay.
And I think that that's something people really need to. Do we? What was that?
Oh, we had a bit of a connection delay, but you're good to go now.
Yeah. Okay. So, just going on date nights, getting away for an overnight every couple months, just making sure you're still having fun and communication is huge. I think people really have lost that communication piece of just like being open and honest and open-minded and like talking about things that maybe like you're afraid to talk about sometimes and being open to be like, "Hey, you know what? Sounds kind of hot to me. What do you think? What do you think about this?" And they might be like, "Oh no, I'm not into that." Or maybe they'd be like, "Let's try it and see what happens." And I think people are just so afraid of having these conversations that they need to be having.
I love that point because I do think that connection is risky. I think that communication is risky. I think that new things are risky. And I think that that is the point of relationships, to be able to have these open, genuine, transparent conversations and not view that as a threat to us. And so
Right.
if I tell you the thoughts in my head, I like to share with couples, look, if you're having a thought in your head, or your spouse or significant other, lovers having a thought in their head, it's there anyway. It's already created. So are you better off in ignorance, not knowing about it? I don't think so. I think that you're better off being genuine and transparent in a kind, courteous, loving way, and sharing your thoughts with the other person. The other thing I love about the getting away, and we try to schedule a regular Friday night date night, tonight's date night, and we try to stay very consistent with that. So I kind of view relationships with a farming mentality. We talked about your country boy, so it's a bit of a farming mentality. So the one thing that every farmer does on a regular basis is they take care of their fields and they fertilize. And so I view that date night thing, that getting away, as the continual fertilizing of relationships. Now, on that point, I'd like to talk about your romance novels. What kind of romance novels do you talk about? Because I'm interested in what couples might learn from spicy romance novels. And let me just say, honestly, I'm a guy. I'm just a guy. You know, sappy romance movies, unless there's some car chases in them and shoot 'em ups in them, to kind of spice up even the romance. But here's one thing I've learned, that getting into things that my wife is interested in, like a romantic TV show, or talking about a novel she's reading. And one of her favorites, I know this may sound crazy to a lot of people, the whole Sister Wife series, which just seems like a really crazy thing to me, no offense to anybody. I think that men can benefit from getting into things that their wives watch and read. So what do you think? What can we guys learn from some of these romance novels that our wives may read?
Well, so first off, I wouldn't say that mine are just for women. Actually, a lot of my readers are men, and they really, really enjoy my novels. And secondly, so my first novel is definitely a erotic romance novel. It definitely is very erotic and graphic in nature. My second one is more of like a mystery suspense thriller with a little bit of romance, like as like a subgenre um, involved in it. And then and there's some spice in that one too, but not nearly as much as the first. Um, so I definitely I didn't gear my book specifically towards women. I just wrote what I wanted to write. And I think there's definitely some level of education involved. So I do suggest that men read it.
That's awesome. One thing that I think is useful is a little bit of role play, if only in your head. You can look at the storyline, and then you can imagine that you're one character and she or he is the other character, that kind of thing. And I think that we can learn things from TV shows because we often get just dull and boring, so busy in the day to day, and so busy in making sure that the accounts are balanced and the bills are paid and the kids are picked up. Of course, that's a big deal. And we get so busy in scheduling insurance payments and ball games, and we forget how we got together in the first place. So I recommend that couples go back to first base and then work at getting at second base and work at getting at third base. And by the way, you always, if we're talking with a kind of a sexual metaphor, you don't always have to get to home base. One things I like to tell couples is the great journey is not just rounding home base, but just getting on base on a regular basis to begin with. But I find that couples really forget themselves, and they forget how they got together, and life becomes just a lot of ticking off boxes. I got the groceries, check. I paid the bills, check. I scheduled the termite guy, check. And I think sometimes you need to throw away your checklist. And I think romance novels may be a way to do that. So finally, what are some of your own top tips? We talked a little bit about it to begin with, but let's go to some of these characters in your novels. What are some maybe top tips for some authentic relationships, or just busy business people, maybe just some out of the box stuff that they might consider? It's kind of a PG-13 show, but we can still talk about it. What are some top tips to kind of keep things going and keep things spicy and highly caffeinated for busy business people?
Well, if we're gonna put ourselves in the mindset of one of the characters, I always think of Carissa. And if you've read my books, she's very she's kind of out there as far as her sexual prowess. So if we were putting ourselves in her mindset, it would be like, there's no time or place that's off limits.
Okay. You're kind of flirting with making sure the law enforcement authorities aren't around to say, "Hey, you guys, quit doing that. Hey, you guys behind the bushes."
Maybe a little bit. I think people get so like wrapped up in like everything has to be like perfect and just so and at this time and it's like it's okay to just make out in the kitchen if you have a few minutes. It's fine.
Yeah, so really you're talking about spontaneity, and a lot of people will view spontaneity as a danger. Now I'm not saying don't get caught and thrown in jail or something like that, but yeah, the cops aren't hanging out in your kitchen, and so be
Well,
spontaneous.
yeah.
Well, just real quick, we're going to do a little bit of a 15-second triple shot here. So currently, relationship wise, getting really transparent and genuine, and I'll share mine, by the way. Your top current mental struggle.
I think my current mental struggle right now is just I'm trying to find time to get my third book finished, and it's been so busy with. I mean, I work full time. I have two kids. One's
Wow.
in sports, and the other one's starting gymnastics, and it's really chaotic and busy, and trying to carve out that time is just been really difficult. So I have to take time off work and use my PTO for writing time, and if I don't do that, my brain feels like it's going to explode. Like, writing isn't just something I enjoy doing, like it's something I have to do to stay sane. So
So how do you and your husband, your country boy husband, work that out? And what's the best way that? And I know I don't want to get off too far off topic, but I'm really interested in this. How can he best support you? How can other husbands out there best support their wives in things that they find interesting?
So he likes to hunt and fish a lot, and I make sure to accommodate for that. So I've been really on him lately about you need to make sure you accommodate for me too. So he has been great about that lately, where I'm like, I just need an hour, just an hour. And he's like, okay, I've got the kids. You go down to the park or the coffee shop or wherever you need to go to get away and take your hour and write. And so we've been helping each other with that on the weekends because
What's your current best relationship mindset hack?
I think just that communication piece, because it gets so people don't talk to each other anymore, and they talk to other people and they get advice from other people who don't know the full story, and it's so easy for you to and that's why people end up giving up on their relationships, because they're like, well, I don't like this, so I'm going to complain about it to Becky, and Becky thinks that this is wrong and that I should leave, and then they just make these snap decisions instead of like being like, hey, to their partner, I don't like it when you do this, and I don't like how it makes me feel. And that's just something we're missing as a society. And that's, I think, where we've gotten so off track and relationships aren't lasting.
It really is all about connection. You know, I read again the quote from Indira Gandhi yesterday that said, "You can't shake hands with a closed fist." And I thought about how we could apply that to relationships, that you can't connect in a relationship with one of these in your hand. And so, one of the most powerful things I think that I do, and often my wife will remind me of it, is when she walks in the room and I'm doing something on this, I take this or the remote and I put it down on the table. I empty my hand so that I can connect with her. And then finally, and we'll finish up with a positive affirmation, something that you can share with the audience that they can kind of take into the weekend that may help them in their relationships, maybe a recommendation. But one last question here. What did you find before you got into your relationship with this love of your life? And or writing romance novels, what did you find that you had personally most wrong about relationships?
Hmm. Um, I think I used to be a lot more idealistic. So I thought, oh, it's supposed to just be perfect and we're supposed to be happy all the time. And guess what? That's not real life, honey.
Yeah.
Um,
It kind of
and
goes up and down. It's kind of like riding the waves of the ocean.
yeah, and I
Uh
will actually say something my husband always says to me.
oh, there goes the phone. As go relationships, sometimes we drop things, sometimes we fumble things, and then we reset.
Fumbled. Okay. So,
I'll say that's a first, but I love it.
accident. So this is something my husband always says to me is he's like, we're gonna have bad days, we're gonna have bad years sometimes. But it'll if you keep going and you stay the course, it'll get back on track and things will be good again and you can't just give up. So
I love that. The biggest mistake I've seen that couples make is they give up too quickly. And I like to say this in recovery because I do a lot of addiction recovery work, is you can always give up, but give up tomorrow. And then when tomorrow gets here, wait and give up the next day. If you keep on postponing giving up, you may find out that you'll just make it. So, how can folks get in touch with you? Where's the best place to find your books?
um my books are only available on Amazon right now. And also just I do offer signed copies if people message me either on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, or or on my website. So
And your website, what's the address of your website?
my website is booksbynatasha.com.
Easy peasy, booksbynatasha.com. And on X, that's in the post that I made about this live stream on X. But one more time, what's your handle on X?
Uh,
That's a good
I think
question, right?
I think it's Natasha CL7.
It is at Natasha CL7. At Natasha CL7. And we always like to leave the audience with a parting affirmation. So what's something that you can share with them that might that they can use in their relationships this weekend?
I think just have fun.
I love it. We do forget to play. Keep
Yeah.
playing. Keep having fun. Um, well, one of the things I used to love best are jump scare things, but since my wife's not into the jump scare thing, that can be very dangerous for me. And so I like to segue to, maybe a hug, maybe a tickle, maybe a goofy dad joke. Do something fun. I have couples that schedule painting classes, that play board games, that play Nerf basketball. find time to do fun things and keep that relationship alive. Natasha, thank you so much. You guys check out her books and check out her handle on X as well as her other social media platforms that she's on. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you guys next Friday for Executive Espresso. Bye bye now.